Michael Meir. He's the current executive director from the Tacoma Housing Authority. And I said current just because we know he will be retiring here soon, for those who are not aware. And then Kevin Glackland Colby, who's the special projects coordinator for the Homeless Coalition. So that's a new position. So it'd be cool to kind of learn more about that. And Clarissa Monteros, who is an equity consultant for Clarissa Monteros LLC. She cannot be here in person, but she sent a recording that we're going to share with everyone. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear the exciting news that she's going to share. And then Associated Ministries' own Michael Yoder. We'll hear from him. So a great line of speakers this morning. You're going to get a lot of information about what's going on in our community around homelessness. It's going to equip you to be able to take some actionable steps to help address homelessness in our community. But what I'd like to do before we get started this evening is to read a land acknowledgement for the Puyallup tribe. And one thing that I'm going to do is the information that I read, I'm going to share in the chat box so you can read along with, or you could copy paste whatever you'd like. And I just want to also let everybody know that you can put your questions or even comments in the chat box as the speakers talk, and Sandy will kind of help us pull some of those questions out and hopefully we'll have a little bit more time to be able to answer some questions this evening. So please feel free to post your questions or comments in the chat as we go. So we're going to start off with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Puyallup tribe. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step towards true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land and beyond.
Awesome.
So, Mike, we're gonna, as soon as Mike provides a blessing to kick us off in our meeting, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put our mission, vision, purpose for this meeting in the chat box. Again, that's to really ground us to remind us of the reason that we are gathered here this evening. So Mike, can you please share a blessing?
Yep. Thank you. I'd like to just offer some opening thoughts. Creator and sustainer of all that is or ever will be, accept our thanks for this day and all its blessings. We ask that you guide and direct all those present in this space right now, and especially our presenters. Grant that each of us may feel a responsibility to our community, to our entire county, to all of our neighbors, both those housed and those who are houseless. Bless our fellowship today and the actions we will take as a community of caring people as a result of the inspiration we will receive in this next hour. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for that blessing. So I want to remind everybody that the mission, vision, purpose that I'm going to read and share in the chat box, this was created by members by community members that attend this meeting. So this was created by you. So I think that's really important to remind everyone of. So the mission of the community quarterly meeting is to love and serve the needs of neighbors experiencing homelessness. The vision is communities of faith and social goodwill are educated and actively apply their essential abilities to help address and prevent homelessness in Pierce County through engagement with social service agencies and other innovative programs. From the purpose. Associated Ministries convenes these meetings in partnership with other homeless and housing service providers working in Pierce County, with the goal of creating an energizing space to gather regularly to learn about, discuss, and take action on the crisis of homelessness in our community. What we will achieve: we will bring like-minded people together, inform and educate attendees about homelessness in our community, seek understanding of of effective interventions, discuss potential projects and solutions to positively impact homelessness. Isn't that wonderful? Gosh, can you get some thumbs up in the or some hearts or something? That's just a wonderful. I just I love it. Every time I read it, I love it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first presenter. And again, I will put their names and contact information in the chat box. So if we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, or you think of something maybe later, please feel free to reach out to our community members or to myself, and I can make some connections later. So I'd like to introduce first Michael Mira. He is, like I said, the executive director for the Tacoma Housing Authority. He is going to be announcing or presenting on the new Arlington Drive campus for youth and young adults experiencing homelessness. This is an exciting new project, and I think there's like about 54 beds. I'm not sure, I could be wrong there, but huge new program for our community. So I'm so excited for everybody to learn more about it and think about how you could support this project as he's presenting. And I'm sure maybe he'll share some ideas as well. So thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Valerie. And thank you, Mike and others, for inviting me to visit with you. The Arlington Drive campus for homeless youth and young adults is where South 38th hits Portland, on 3.5 acres on the east side of Portland. And I'm going to briefly show you a picture of what I then will describe. Does a picture show on your screen?
Yes.
Arlington Drive comes in 2 parts. It's got a 12-bed crisis residential center for homeless youth ages 12 to 17. That's the building on the right of that picture. And a 58-unit apartment building that you see on the left for homeless young adults ages 18 to 24, 30% of whom are showing up with babies and toddlers. That 12-bed crisis residential center provides supportive services and programmings provided by Community Youth Services, one of the nation's premier organizations doing that hard work with a service model of the last 50 years that has a 91% rate of success in discharging these youngsters to safe and stable housing after an average 12-day stay. At that rate, that 12-bed crisis residential center will serve and save almost 350 of these youngsters a year. The 58-unit apartment building comes with services provided by the Social Impact Center of the YMCA of Greater Seattle. And it's for young adults 18 to 24, plus the children that they bring with them. These young people, once they leave, will take a THA housing voucher with them to give them a head start. The young people who come to Arlington will come from the streets. The police will bring them. They will have blown out of foster care. They come from sex trafficking, trading sex for shelter. They will come when their families ask them to leave home. They will leave home when they make the plausible judgment that the streets are safer than home. And Arlington is designed to give them all a second chance at an adolescence, a second chance at an adulthood, a second chance at an education, an occupation, and a family, and a second chance at a life without fear. Arlington Drive is dedicated to the proposition that the homelessness of young people is both intolerable and solvable. And to give you a sense of what's at stake and how transforming Arlington can be, I'm going to share a 37-second video. Before I do that, let me tell you how we got this video. A young person moved into that apartment building at Arlington Drive, and being young and of her generation, she had both the ability and the inclination to to tape herself at that moment as she walked in. And that's what I want to show you. And I'm hoping that the audio comes through. So let's give it a try. Do you see the face of a young woman on your screen? Okay, let's give it a try.
I'm so ugly, but I need to record me crying.
Do you hear the sound? Okay, I'll keep going. I'll start again. Oh, and we have her permission to share this video. She sent it to us. Although we know quite a bit about her, I'm only going to show you the video, except to tell you that she came from circumstances you would never wish on anybody.
I'm so ugly, but I need to record me crying. Oh my God. I have a bus apartment, bro. Shit, bro. They gave me a welcome basket and shit, all kinds of stuff, bro. Oh my God. Blessed.
That for me is a poignant demonstration of what is at stake and what success can look like. Arlington Drive is not a usual undertaking for a public housing authority. In fact, we were not able to find another housing authority to offer us any template. So we learned a lot. How does a housing authority like THA house people who need services that we don't provide, don't know how to provide, and don't want to learn? And the answer is you do that with first-rate service partners like CYS and the Social Impact Center. That distilled and clarified what our job is. Tacoma Housing Authority's job is to provide the land, to assemble the financing to get it built, to have the real estate development and construction management expertise to build it, the property management expertise to run it, the rental stream to give it an operating income, and what might be the most important contribution of all, because these young people have not yet learned to expect it, which is a warm welcome. That's our job. I'd like to close by suggesting what Associated Ministries and its member churches can do. And before I tell you what that is, let me tell you where I think you fit generally. Associated Ministries and its membership have an essential authoritative voice in these discussions in the community. You come out of the faith community, and that gives you a stature that nobody else has. And I count that to be just an essential advocacy tool to speak up for young people who don't have that voice. And you use it, and I'm grateful for that. What I'm now going to tell you is how you can help in more meaningful, concrete ways. Those young people come to Arlington with nothing. And what we have to arrange for them are household furnishings, toiletries, linen, kitchen supplies, furniture. And if the churches of this community can help us do that in a way that can be managed so we're not overwhelmed, that would be very valuable. The second thing is these young people don't come with a lot of household skills that you might take for granted. Can the churches organize perhaps a monthly cooking demonstration or meal to teach them how to cook and how to sit down at a family table and share a meal. And the third is we're actually getting more young people coming as parents of babies and toddlers. So we need baby supplies. And if this is interesting to Associated Ministries, I would put Michael Yoder in touch with the person who's ready to have that discussion. Thank you.
Absolutely. We will share those needs with our network. Valerie, I'm assuming we have a little bit of time. Does anybody have any questions for Michael? Because this is an amazing project. I remember hearing Michael's vision for this many years ago. And I don't know if there's anybody else in leadership in our community that could have made this happen. You just heard him. There are hundreds of housing authorities connected to cities and municipalities all over the country. And I think it's well known that the Tacoma Housing Authority under Michael's leadership has been one of the most innovative and forward-thinking housing authorities in our nation. And the fact that they got this youth campus built the way that it was is absolutely a testimonial to Michael's leadership and just the uniqueness of what this is, just the way this, our community's Tacoma Housing Authority, the way they think, what they do, what they're willing to do to make the needs be met. So I'm just so thrilled that we have this asset in our community, thanks to the leadership of the Housing Authority and Michael. But yeah, it's up to us. I mean, it was a monumental lift to get it built. It's been a monumental lift to get funding approved in this last state legislative session just to keep the place operational. That lift was made, but now we as a community need to wrap around this incredibly unique and valuable asset that we have for our young people, because we got to break generational homelessness, people. We've got to help these young people. You know, the biggest thing that predicts whether you'll become homeless someday is when you experienced homelessness as a young person. So it's so important for us to be involved in turning around the life trajectories of the young people that come to Arlington Drive. So
and Mike,
let's,
Joan has
yeah.
her hand up. Joan
Yeah.
Nelson.
Sandy. Thank you, Mike. Joan?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to emphasize your praise of them. There would be tens of thousands of housing authorities that none of them have done something like this is just, it's a remarkable achievement. Would you repeat how many units there are to give us a sense of the size of the need?
Yes, in the apartment building for young adults, there are 58 units, and each unit can have from 2 to 4 people in it, either because young people come in pairs or they come with children. And at any one time, that building will have about 130 souls in it.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
So Michael, is there a contact person at the Housing Authority that we can have kind of coordinate? Because the people are already asking, like, there's probably people in this room right now that would like to drop some things off tomorrow. So, I mean,
Yeah.
how do we coordinate that so we don't create a monster?
Yeah, don't do that. Instead, Michael, can I put you in touch with Robert Taylor, who is
Okay.
the WISE social service coordinator for the apartment building.
Okay.
And he knows that I am speaking with you all, and he is ready to figure out how to do this.
Okay, great. So what we'll do, folks, on the in the meeting here tonight is we'll work that out with Robert, and we'll send out that contact information that Robert wants us to share with all of you about how he would like you to connect, most likely with him or one of his designees there at the Arlington Drive campus, to coordinate what you can do, how you can drop things off. So we'll send that out in the post-meeting notes.
And Robert also asked me to convey something else that's harder to explain, but still valuable. These young people not only come empty of furnishings, but they do not have many adult relationships that are positive in their life. And if, for example, we could figure out a way for you to provide those furnishings or those cooking lessons and those meal experiences to further relationships, that would be valuable on its own.
Nice, nice.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing that information. So important. That's what these meetings are about, to equip each and every one of you with what we can do. And so many great points were made and information was shared for all of us to have an opportunity. So start collecting those donations and figure out what needs to be done. And you could get started right away, but just wait and we'll make the right contacts for you to make it a really organized effort. Sandy, any other comments or questions you'd like to bring up?
Richard Berghammer has his hand up.
Yeah, I think Richard has had a question for a little while.
I think some of it was answered actually with Robert. We've been all the baskets that were in all 58 units came from us across the street. And so we have enough for about the next 6 months as well.
Oh, nice.
So just thought I'd throw that in there, that maybe coordinating that with Robert relating to what still is necessary. We've been bringing diapers over and a few other things over the past, well, ever since it's been open. And so I'd love to coordinate with anybody else who is interested, in doing the same kind of thing.
So Richard's referring to Fellowship Bible Church, which just conveniently happens to be directly across the street from Arlington Drive, and is another beautiful example of community of faith here in our community. It's already jumped in full steam with this new facility directly across the street from them. So thank you, Richard, and all of your congregants there at Fellowship Bible for doing those welcome baskets. That's beautiful. But I'm sure
Fellowship Bible was also very gracious and patient with the use of their parking lot across the street for construction purposes. Richard, we're very grateful.
It's great. It's a good ongoing partnership. We love that. And we love to see that expand to others partnering with them as well. That's fantastic. We're so glad that you're doing this presentation today. Often we're so overwhelmed with what the needs are that I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, if we had a few other partners, it'd be just so much easier to get what they need when they need it.
Richard, can you put your contact information? Do you go in the chat box for people to talk to you to make that connection?
I will do so.
Also, I know we're not going to probably be able to get to all the questions. Let's see, one from Mary. Are only Pierce County residents eligible to move in, Michael?
Probably about 15% of the youngsters moving in have come from other counties. And in this way, Arlington Drive should be understood as a regional asset in two ways. It takes in young people who come here because they don't get what they need at home. And second, it keeps Pierce County youth at home so they don't go elsewhere and take up resources there.
Thank you, Michael. Are you at capacity, or is Arlington Drive at capacity right now?
It was at capacity within several weeks of opening, and we have a waiting list.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there's great need. So we got to get busy, community. We got to get busy. We can connect with, there's Richard's contact. Start collecting supplies. We're going to send out the information that Robert Taylor shares sometime next week. So it's time. This is it. This is a great project. Oh, Carolyn, we have time. It looks like Carolyn's hand is up. Let's take one more question and then we'll move on. Carolyn?
Can you include a write-up about this so we can put it in our church bulletins?
Is it?
I can send Michael a written description of the project if that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And if you go to THA's website or to the website for Arlington Apartments, you could see videos and other information.
Thank you, Michael. So thank you so much, Michael, for coming out. We know you are an extremely busy person, but this information you shared is just so valuable. And I know we're going to get involved. The community.
And thank you for inviting me. Valerie, I do need to excuse myself for my next meeting.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking.
you, Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, this is good. This is good stuff. I tell you, I was pretty touched by the video that Michael shared. It was yeah, that was very, very touching and very real, very raw. So we're gonna move on to our next presenter, which is Kevin. Am I pronouncing this right? Is it Clacken Coley? I want to make sure.
Black and Coley, yeah.
He is the special projects coordinator with the Coalition to End Homelessness. And he is going to be discussing a new family shelter model to be hosted by local congregations. So here's some more great information that's going to come up and new opportunities for people to get involved. Thank you, Kevin. I'm going to share his contact information in the text as well, or chat.
All right, thanks, Valerie. And I think if I had been planning this, I wouldn't have gone after Michael. That was bad planning on my part. But I'm just going to share a little bit. I've been working with the Coalition since November, first on winter shelter opportunities, and now doing some vaccine outreach work. And over the course of that time, actually, most of the folks who were part of the conversation I see on my screen now, Michael Yoder and Alan Brown from CCS and myself and Tim Thomas from the Oasis Center of Hope, or Hope Center down on G Street, started having some conversations online. And what I have to share with you, and I'll screen share in a second, isn't a completely baked idea, but it's a framework for an idea of how churches might be able to respond in a more direct way to those experiencing homelessness, if it fits within the parameters of the church's abilities. And it's kind of it grows out for those of you who are part of the Faith Housing Network. It's trying to build off some of those ideas. It also grows out of one of the things the coalition decided at a series of community meetings in December and January, was to make a commitment to end street homelessness in Pierce County by November 1st of this year. That doesn't mean ending homelessness. It means ending the street encampments, making sure there are safe places for people in their vehicles to stay so they're not parked in unsafe spots or places where they're not sure that they're safe. And in order to do that, we'll need to expand the opportunities for shelter for people to go to. That's not ending homelessness, that's ending the street homelessness. And so that then folks can be supported to move into more permanent housing. And so the model we begin to draft, and I see that Joan Christensen's on here, and I emailed you yesterday, Joan, sorry for the late notice. I know your church has been doing this, and feel free to jump in at some point. Nora Hacker at First United Methodist has also started doing this model. And simply what it is, churches have already been, I'm going to just screen share this little document so you don't have to just look at my face the whole time. If I can figure out how to, well, I'm going to have to, yeah, that's what I want to screen share. Why isn't it coming up? I don't know why the document I want is not coming up. Do you see that document now? No? Then I'm just going to read about it. That's fine. So, I mean, churches have already been the default response agents for homelessness in lots of ways over time. And so this is not to say that, God, we need the churches to step up. It's just to offer another opportunity for how your faith community might be willing to do this. And really, and we're trying to figure out language. I'm actually glad I can't share this document because it still has the language of adopt one family. And I really want to get away from that notion of adopting, but I think we were kind of looking at one family, one church. And the thought would be that churches that had the capability, had space, and had community members who could provide support would be able to welcome one family experiencing homelessness. And that family could be an individual, it could be a couple, it could be a family with children. That depends on what you're able to host. and provide a safe place for that family to sleep until the family regains permanent housing. And not trying to do this in a vacuum as the model would look. And again, this is in the draft stages. But if you could imagine if every church, even 50 churches in the community adopted one household experiencing homelessness until a family regained permanent housing. And so what the church would do is identify a space they could dedicate at night. And it could be just at night. It might be, you might not be able to host people during the day, and there are other options, particularly if COVID starts to loosen up. There are other places where people can access services during the day. And that could be a meeting room, it could be a classroom, it could be a community hall, a rectory, a building that you're not using any longer. And that you would receive, perhaps in your community, you would already have a connection with a family that you would want to welcome in. Or you could receive a referral from a family that's currently receiving rapid rehousing services. And that's offered by CCS and other agencies. And some of what we were thinking about is this takes the low-hanging fruit off the tree of families who are already in a rapid rehousing program. And that usually takes 45 minutes is the average length of time to regain permanent housing when they get
45
referral.
Days.
40,
Yeah.
What did I say?
Minutes.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, we're not that good. I was afraid I said 45 months. 45 days. And so there would be a referral to the church is interested in hosting a family. They could connect with the rapid rehousing services in town and receive a referral. I remember talking to Nora Hacker at First United Methodist, and they've done a variety of things in their community. And I think in the back of their mind, not the primary driving force, but one of the things in the back of their mind was this would be a way to welcome people into their community as an ongoing member. But the family they wound up welcoming is really based out in Graham, and that's where they want to move when they have permanent housing. So it could be that this is a way to welcome people in and they could become part of the faith community in their own way. But really the goal is to provide a safe space for them in the evenings. You may have cooking spaces, you may not have cooking spaces. You may have shower spaces, you may not have shower spaces. Bathrooms are nice, running water's nice, electricity, those kinds of things. But it's to welcome them for a set period of time. There would be, as we envision this, a covenant that the church enters into and the family enters into, that there are some basic ground rules that the church would lay down for their particular space, and they can be tailored to meet what your needs are. And if there's only one household being housed, it kind of limits some of the drama or the need for interpersonal conflict management that happens when you have multiple households or people who are not connected to each other in any way staying at your place. What the shelter guests get is they get the security and stability of staying in one location instead of the old model with the family housing network where they moved every week to different churches. The church gets to have just one family that they're welcoming for a set period of time and to develop a relationship, rather than kind of gearing up and having, there's some more personal contact that can happen. And then the last thing, and I hadn't realized this, but even if we got 5 churches to participate, this would restore the full capacity of the family housing network, family shelter. So there's some risks, admittedly, that you'd have to contemplate whether your community is open to taking. You have to have a level of trust with the family that's coming in, and that can, hopefully there'll be some communication with the case manager from the rapid rehousing program. We recognize that unmonitored guests could do things to damage or impact the building. So there has to be some consideration about that would take. Rapid rehousing staff making the referrals, it's a level of confidence, but they're not necessarily going to take on formal or legal responsibility. So how do we develop a set of protocols that work so that it's a positive experience for the family that's being welcomed and for the church that's doing the welcoming? So that's kind of the framework. I would say that in terms of contact information moving forward, my time with the coalition is kind of winding down. It was one of those contract-driven things. But I know that Alan and Michael, so Alan Brown at CCS and Michael Yoder are on this call. And then also Tim Thomas at the Oasis Center of Hope are folks who are interested in pursuing this conversation. I want to stay in the conversation as it's moving forward. But this is something to bring back to your community and to do that groundwork now, so that as we get closer to November 1st, we're not scrambling at the last minute, but for your faith community to say, is this something we have the capability to do? And then if it is, do we want to take single people? Do we want to take couples? Do we want to take people with children? LGBTQ questions, all those kinds of things that have to be addressed within your own faith community, so that you're welcoming somebody who's going to feel welcomed in your community and that you're able to work with and support. So I'm going to leave it there. And then if there's questions or thoughts, or Joan, if you want to share something about your church's experience, that would be great.
I'd be glad to share some of our experience. We started talking to Alan at CCS in January of 2020, and then came the COVID shutdown. But we resumed the conversations in May, and the whole process took a number of months. And I think a lot of what we did might be helpful to other churches who, like us, looked around and said, gee, we got a lot of space that's not being used, and that's not what we're here for. So we designated the lower floor of the Christian education wing that used to house a preschool. The major thing that took the time was working out the memorandum of understanding with an attorney in our congregation and with CCS. And that dealt with church liability and all that sort of thing. We developed our list of guest expectations that we go over with the family when they move in, or actually the caseworker goes over with it before they even come in. We changed the residence entry door key for security, so they have a separate entrance that they are almost the only ones that have that key. We changed the alarm settings so that the rest of the building can be alarmed, but their part is not. For movement, it still is for fire. We got that area wired for Wi-Fi because we didn't have it in that part of the building. And then after we got all the furnishings and things done, we established a small committee of 3 that basically are the group that liaisons with the family, so they don't have to relate to 6, 7 people or more. And we try to maintain as much contact as seems to be needed. We started out saying daily, but we have found that that's not necessary. We are now housing our 3rd family, all very different, and the needs that they have from us are also very different. But it's been an amazing experience. We've had awesome support from the congregation and our pastor. And we would be happy to share any of our documents that we've developed, especially the MOU and that sort of thing, if anyone else is interested. And I certainly hope there are other churches that will take this on.
Oh, what a wonderful offer, Joan. And hi, Joan, by the way. Good to meet you.
Hi, Valerie.
I want to put your information maybe in the chat box, because I bet a few people or churches want to take you up on that. And Alan, I know this motto has been CCS's baby for as many years as I've been at Associated Ministries. I don't know if you want to say maybe a couple highlights, to kind of help encourage churches and people to really strongly consider this, because it's a great way to help an individual in a very impactful way, or family.
Yeah, well, we did our model of our nomadic shelter with 5 families. That's really how this program, Family Housing Network, then Phoenix Housing Network, started, which, in 2018 just kind of wore itself out for various reasons. And this model of a church housing one family at a time while they work on that permanent housing plan, I think just has a lot more viability, and without the moving around week to week, it just has a lot of potential. And as Kevin said earlier, we have the potential to rebuild the capacity that our previous shelter model had. Even if we had 25 to 30 churches in the county, that were able to do that. And it's just been with Mount Cross Church and Joan's team. It's really been surprisingly successful, and we just appreciate the dedication that they have put into this.
Yeah.
I would also just add that it's from a congregation standpoint, it is less time consuming and involves less volunteer hours than the traveling network did, because we don't provide meals. I mean, we can, and we've talked about doing that, but with COVID, we haven't. But we don't provide meals, and we don't have to provide the overnight supervision and that sort of thing. The family is really independent.
Nice. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Joan. And are there any other questions? It sounds like there's one question by Candy, what congregation Joan belongs to, and it's Mount Cross. Alan reminded us of that. And I think, Joan, you're going to put your contact information in the chat box at some point for people maybe to get a hold of her and help receive any support for those churches that want to get going, especially the MOU. That's a lot of work. There's some real value in having a model handy. But
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to say, in my earlier days, I helped start the Catholic Worker with Bix way back when in late 80s. And Peter Warren, who's one of the founders of the Catholic Worker, said that, this was back in the 30s, said that every church should have a house, and if every church had a house and every family had a room, there would be nobody living on the streets. And so it's kind of coming back to that model nearly 100 years later of saying there are spaces, if we can find ways to do it, and to do it in relationship, which is really at the heart of church anyway, to make it manageable and sustainable for the families that you're welcoming so that they're getting the support they need. And it provides a way for the church to make a concrete, we're doing something that is within our ability to do, and we can take it as slow as we want to, and go forward from that. And I think that's the way we're going to get out of homelessness, is by recognizing there are spaces. We just need to welcome people into them. So.
Nice. Thank you for that, Kevin. Well, for time's sake, we do have to move on. And so here's another important or great opportunity for congregations, individuals to get involved. And they're in Kevin's contact information in there. Alan, maybe you could put your contact information in there, because Kevin mentioned that you would be another contact if he is not available for his contract ending. And then of course, Michael Yoder, but there's all kinds of opportunities. And if individuals ever feel like, who can I get a hold of? You can always reach out to me too. So we want to make those connections. Don't let a connection stop you from some important heart work that you or your congregation would like to do. So next on our agenda is that we are going to watch a 3-minute video from an amazing woman, one of my favorite individuals in our community, Clarissa Monteros. She has her own equity consulting business, Clarissa Monteros with LLC. And I'm going to read just a really brief introduction for her, just so people can kind of get an idea of this amazing woman that you're about to hear from, and this amazing opportunity that you're about to listen to. Clarissa has her master's degree in mental health counseling and is the Chief Equity Officer, Founder, CEO of Clarissa Montero LLC, which offers virtual training and technical assistance to the community, nonprofits, tribes, and government agencies serving those living with homelessness. She is currently employed with the City of Tacoma's Office of Equity and Human Rights as the Senior Policy Analysis. She has 13 years of experience in the field, most recently at Building Changes, where she managed the Washington Youth and Family Fund portfolio and developed equitable housing strategies, including critical transition coaching and enhanced rapid rehousing. She also developed and successfully managed several programs like diversion and rapid rehousing at Associated Ministries, leaning on several years of experience working directly in shelter. So I tell you, this woman is one of the most talented individuals. She is going to be a mover and shaker in our community. Well, she is a mover and shaker. And I'm glad that everybody will have the opportunity to hear this message and to have an opportunity to get together with her further, which you'll learn more about. I won't spoil it here in a minute. So Sandy.
Everyone, my name is Clarissa and I am Chief Equity Officer, founder CEO of Clarissa Montero LLC. It is such an honor to be here with you all today. I am so excited to announce the launch of our 3-part training series on race and homelessness. This is something you guys are not going to want to miss. So it's going to focus on education, elevation, liberation. All right. Education, elevation, liberation. So our first workshop is all about education. Right. Our slogan here at Clarissa Montero LLC is knowledge is power, because it is. None of us are individually responsible for creating institutional or structural racism. However, once we know about it, we do have a collective responsibility to undo. And my hope is that we could go on that learning journey together during this 3-part series. So yeah, on our first series, come out next Thursday, June 24th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. We're going to be talking all about education, learn about this country's history and the role of government, police, and the church in terms of our history of racism in America. We'll take a deep dive into the concept of network empowerment and its correlation with homelessness and policy today. This is going to be jam-packed with information and resources, so you will not want to miss it. In the other sections, they build on one another. So we want to start off with our education, our meat and potatoes, get your understanding of what institutional racism is, and then come join us for our second workshop on elevation. And this one is super fun. You guys are not going to want to miss this one either. Once we get an understanding of our past and how it's connected to our present, then we could do a little more deeper reflection and analysis into how this shows up in our minds, in our hearts, and in our bodies every single day. And this really takes it to a real deeper level of understanding. We'll provide a lot of reflection time for you guys. There'll be a lot of opportunities for us to learn more about who we are as a group and collectively. We'll give you guys some common language in terms of racial equity terms and concepts, so we're all on the same page, speaking the same language. And we'll also provide you with, what else are we providing you with during that training? We're gonna introduce the fundamental principles of courageous conversations. That's gonna be fun. And then after that, we will have another workshop on liberation, right? So now that we understand our history, the facts, how this has shown up, we're woke. We understand how this is showing up in our bodies, in our hearts, and in our minds. We're speaking the same language. We're maybe getting comfortable having conversation about it. Then we are going to learn about liberation, right? And to liberate is to release from a state or situation that limits freedom. So our goal here is to encourage you guys to take action and to liberate yourselves by acting this out collectively. We're going to introduce some new material on how to have transformational conversations. You won't want to miss that. We'll provide you with some information on how to operationalize this with racial equity toolkits and how to create really meaningful relationships with Black, Indigenous, and people of color. This is a cool series, you guys. Please sign up and register for education, elevation, and liberation. Come join us. Let's learn and grow together and spend some quality time learning about this stuff. I'm excited to work with you all. Looking forward to meeting with you.
Is everybody as excited as I am? You know, we've had Clarissa in our hallways at Associate Ministries for a number of years, and she's gone on to bigger and better things. But we love Clarissa. We know her. We trust her. We have invited her to share in this space before in our community quarterly meetings, which is a space primarily for people of faith to learn and take action on on homelessness. And Clarissa is a woman of faith. And so when we realized we needed to provide a little bit more of an opportunity for this community, this quarterly community meeting community, uniquely to go a little bit deeper on the ideas of how our systemic racial issues as a nation, and really how we have perpetuated that as the institutional church in America as well, have contributed to where we are at. She is a beautiful, beautiful person to guide us through this really, really important conversation. So we have a registration link set up on our website at Associate Ministries, and the first training, she said 5 to 6, but I think it's 5 to 6:30. As far as I don't want to say anything that against her, but I know we've talked about that, and I think she just misspoke. So join us for 90 minutes, 1 week from tonight, same time, same place, Zoom room, 5 o'clock next Thursday night. And then we'll meet 2 other times a month apart. So it'll be over the summer, once a month for 90-minute meetings. And we are providing this training at free of charge. So get the word out. We are going to try to blitz the word out there. We'll send out more information in the follow-up notes as well. But you can go online right now. Sandy put the link on there so you can register. Again, no charge or obligation, but let us know you want to come so we can send you the Zoom link. I think this is going to be a transformational conversation. It's exactly the kind of root cause conversation that doesn't often happen in spaces like we're in right now. So it's important. I want to finish up in our last couple of minutes. I almost feel like we're coming full circle with Michael Mira, because he actually shared in his conversation at the beginning of our session here tonight about the unique role that people in faith communities play. And he is one of the leaders in our community. When I first came to Associated Ministries, that challenged me. He's saying the Associated Ministries has had a legacy of convening people of faith, but I don't think that people of faith show up with all the power and moral authority that they really have in our community. And we like to see people of faith showing up and exercising the moral authority that they do have to change things for the better for people in need. And so he actually planted a seed in my mind that kind of started to germinate through these meetings. And we had a moral voice group that came out of these community meetings several years ago. And they actually met and convened and did some pretty cool work. They advocated for some provisions within the city of Tacoma's housing action strategy. And they actually also showed up and advocated for some of the work in the accessory dwelling unit ordinance that the city passed. So people of faith actually connected to this quarterly meeting have shown up and taken action in ways that have changed our community for the better. Well, I recently became aware of another incredible group of people that are doing something similar, and they are calling themselves Revenue for Housing. I talked about it last time we met 3 months ago, and they are really organized. It's a group of people that have mostly come out of the St. Leo's Parish through their Social Justice Commission, but many, many other people from other congregations are involved with this. So I just want to commend their work to you as something that is really, really worthwhile getting involved in. And we have Carolyn Reed on the call, actually Carol Colleran, two of the key leaders in this Revenue for Housing effort. And I'm going to put Carolyn's contact information in the chat as well, because they meet every Monday morning and they're planning an effort to try to, in a moral voice way, influence our county council to consider passing a 0.1% sales tax to raise revenue for affordable housing. It is something that our state legislature has allowed local jurisdictions to do, but truth be told, our county council is quite tax averse. It took them 10 years to be convinced to pass the sales tax for the behavioral health provision that just finally happened. They were given the permission to pass that, to implement that tax 10 years ago. And it took them that long to basically start collecting 1 penny on on each $10 purchase in order to raise millions of dollars to meet the behavioral health needs of the people of this community. And we don't want them to take 10 years to implement the opportunity to raise a similar amount of money to seed the development of affordable housing for people in most need of housing stability in our community. So this group is organized. This group is making a case. They've got talking points. They've got strategies. They're doing research meetings. They're showing up every Tuesday at the county council, and they're not going to let these people off the hook, because this is something our county council, our elected leaders in our county, they have the ability to do this, but we have to give them the moral compunction to realize that they need it to do this. So if this is something that sounds like something you'd like to just step into, find out a little bit more about, we'll have more information in weeks, in the months to come about how this Revenue for Housing group and this incredible energy that they have might become a little bit more formally connected to Associated Ministries and some of the other things that we're doing. But for now, please consider showing up on Monday mornings with the Revenue for Housing group and make your voice and your moral voice that you have as a person of faith, put it to action. If that is the kind of person that you are, that is another really important. Some people love to go meet with young people and deliver baskets and take diapers to the shelter, and we need that done. Other people will step up and say, we want to house a family needing shelter in our congregation. Incredible. All of these things aren't for everybody. And we know that advocating and speaking up and testifying before the county council, that's not for everybody either. But that's why these meetings are here, to demonstrate a variety of these opportunities. And using your voice to advocate for change is a really, really important thing to do. So I'm going to put Carolyn's number in there. Give her a buzz if you want to get the Zoom link for next Monday's Revenue for Housing meeting. And we're kind of at time here. And don't forget to sign up for Clarice's training as well, and we'll send all this out to you in our meeting follow-up notes.
So thank you for Mike for always providing opportunities for us to advocate for local policy change. Very, very important. And I do want to recognize in the chat box, I put dates for June, September, and December. So the one for June 24th, show up for that, register now. That's going to be a week from today. I am going to connect with Clarissa and get those dates closer together. I need to work that out, but I'll have all of that taken care of before the post meeting notes go out to give you those 3 dates, because it does make sense, Mike, when you were talking about the series over the summer, but that's not initially what we had scheduled. So I'm going to work on that to have those trainings closer together, because that really does make sense. So sorry, I apologize for that oversight. So that's it. Our next community quarterly meeting is September 16th. But again, we hope to see everybody next week for the training with Clarissa. And the first series is going to be on education, just about race and homelessness. So excited to hear what she has to say and how we can get involved, become stronger allies as we work together to undo institutional racism. So I look forward to seeing everybody there and learning ways that we can grow and impact or even end homelessness in our community. So thank you everyone for coming and have a wonderful evening. Bye.